Hello, hi, I am Nobu Kumalo and welcome to Seasons, a series where I sit down with some of the incredible people I've had the privilege of rubbing shoulders with, and we have a chat, about the different seasons that we've been through or are currently going through, in the hopes that you will feel seen, that you'll relate, and that you'll know you are not alone. Today, I have with me my first couple guests on the show, and it's a couple that I met for the first time. Well, not met physically, but I sat in a room where they had come to our church, and we have like this young married people's class, and they came in and they sat at the back, and I don't even remember what the topic was, but I remember there was a question that was passed, and them being, they're not young, married anymore, they've 20 plus years of experience. They gave a response, and I remember thinking, these people seem to be pretty cool. They seem like, they know what they're about, and they just seemed so in sync, and they were like sort of finishing each other's, sentences, and it was just like, what, goals, these guys look amazing. And then earlier this year, I sat in one of the sessions that they ran completely at church again. And it's a session where basically they gave us lists of characteristics, and they had us figure out if we thought people would make it in a relationship. I don't want to go into it too much, but I remember sitting in that session and thinking, you know what, these guys, I know like life is a continuous journey, and marriage more so, you continue learning, but they have figured something out well, and they are doing something well. And as I sat there and I listened to their presentation and I looked at them and they heard them speak from their experience, I was like, I need these guys to come on my show to speak about marriage. And they also have a ministry that they run called This Is Marriage UK. They offer guidance and counseling. They also offer talks, and they're available for your occasions. But basically, they're all about showing marriage and its different seasons and how real it is. So without much further ado, Wanita, Curtis, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
All right.
We are cooking. We are slow cooking.
So am I. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for your time and for availing yourselves. No doubt you guys have a lot on your plate, but I'm just grateful that you made the time to come here. And I hope we have an interesting conversation, because like I said, to me, you look like a very dynamic and interesting couple. So I really cannot wait to see the direction this conversation takes. But before we go into that, I have a few questions for you guys. One of them, I want each of you to answer as honestly as possible. And maybe the other can learn from the other's response. And then the other's open for debate. Okay?
Yeah.
Cool. So, individually, what's your idea of a perfect date?
You go first.
Me? Do you know, I just had to think, because I've never really thought about it, but I know it now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My perfect date is a date where we don't have to watch the clock.
Okay.
For childcare.
Okay.
That's it. And there's no romantic answer, because I'm not. Yeah, that's not me.
Okay.
His perfect.
What do you know? That's a fair answer, though. Fair.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Do you know what a perfect date for me is? A lot of walking with Curtis.
Okay.
And talking,
Okay.
working out life, having a laugh when we're walking. Yeah, it can be as simple as that for me. Not to say that we need to do that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't want to walk myself away or walk myself into thinness, but I'm just saying that I do love a walk with Curtis.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my idea.
Yeah.
That I like that, because I don't walk a lot, but we walked a lot during the pandemic because there was nothing else to do. And I do remember that because there's no distractions, you can't really be on your phone or listening to anything. It's just literally the two of you, and you get to like proper talk and bond. So I get that. My next question, I think I already know the answer to this one, but who's the romantic? So you guys have to point. Who's the romantic between the two of you? I heard you saying, Curtis, that you're not romantic at all.
He's not, and it's okay now.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't okay in the beginning, but it's okay now. Yeah, you get used to it. It's fine. He's romantic in different ways, not your conventional way. So he is romantic, but in his own way.
In his own way.
It works for me now.
Okay. Who's the silly one or the funny one?
You know, it's both of us, you know.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, so followed nicely by who's more likely to crack a joke during a serious moment?
Yeah.
Okay. And who's the strict one?
To who?
Good question.
Yeah.
Do you think it changes? I mean, do you think it changes?
When you have children, who's strict, and then are you strict with yourself?
But don't you think the one who's always been kind of strict, whether with themselves or the other, will most likely be strict with the kids as well?
I think it would be me.
What do you mean strict with yourself?
I think I'm more likely to be like, no, don't laugh loud, or don't park there, or don't.
We laugh about this, right?
I'm more of like I'm a rule keeper. I'm rigid. Like, no, it's a double yellow. Don't stay there.
I will break rules more.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm still a rule keeper. But I break more rules. Yeah.
Or don't. Why are you taking 5 napkins? We should be taking 1. So it would be me. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So who's the disciplinarian here for the kids? Who?
So we both are equally. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We're quite united in parenting style.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then this one might be a bit touchy, but who's the favorite parent?
Who's the what?
Oh, the
favorite parent.
It depends.
Yeah, it depends.
What's happening at the time. It depends on the context.
Okay.
So they're very strategic, so they know who to go to for what.
Yeah.
So that I would hate to think that there was a favorite parent. We do make that joke though. But I think what it is that they know who to go to at what time, so that they work brain.
The thing is, as I said, we're quite united, so they have to think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carefully, because even if I've got a weakness, I will say, I'm going to ask your mom. I'll get back to you. And they're like,
okay.
Yeah.
Then they know it's going down. Okay, cool. Lovely. I think we're a bit more relaxed now. So I reached out to you following a session that I attended a couple of weeks back at church, where you gave us, a list of characteristics, right, in these people. So like a girl, a boy, or like a man and a woman, right? And they had like a whole list of characteristics, like the other one likes order, the other one doesn't quite know what he's doing, this one is set up and stuff. There was a whole list, right? And I remember you asked us to kind of figure out if we thought like they would work as a couple. And I think you put us in groups and we had to like discuss why we think it will work, why we don't think it will work. And then we came up, with the answers. And obviously to varying extents, people had their different, responses. But I think what stood out for me from that session, we didn't really come to a yes or a no, but I think what you said is that something like they are kind of all of us, and like all of us have something in there that is that on that list that will probably say it won't work with the other person. And yet you've seen, or actually even people who seem as divergent as possible can actually work. And it got me thinking, about how I'm married 5 years this year, but I do have quite a few friends who are, still, looking for marriage, looking for a companion. And it appears, I don't know for sure if this is true, but it appears it's much harder now, or they say it's much harder now to find a partner than it was, let me not say 5 years ago, because obviously I dated my husband for like 4 years before. So let me say 10 years ago, right? And I was like, I want to pick your brain because 1, you're a couple that's been married for over 20 years. But 2, you have the benefit of, I believe, sitting with couples or singles and just working through these issues. And I thought, I want to pick your brain on whether this idea that it's become so much harder to find a partner these days, is it real? Is it true? And if you think it's real or true, what do you think the problem is? Is it a problem with expectation, or is it a problem with actual people? I'm just curious to know what you guys think. But maybe before we go into that, I'd love to hear your love story. Just briefly, where did you guys meet? What did you think of each other? And how did you get here, basically? Just briefly.
We got totally different versions, and that's because they're looking through totally different lenses.
Love it.
I can do mine because I know it like back of my hand. I can do it really quickly. Went to a church event.
Okay.
No, years before that, I was 19 and I was in a course, and I met Curtis's mum, and she says, "Oh, I've got a son your age." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I mean, I sang with his sister and didn't really know the family. And then we left it there. She didn't try and set us up or anything. It was just, "Oh, I've got a son your age." Fast forward maybe 4 years, and we're in Acts 2000, it was called. It was an event at Newbold College, which is an institution. And it was an annual event, and we were there. And for some reason, I ended up in a dorm talking to him and a group of friends. And I told him what I did for a profession, and he was really interested in it and volunteering for the organization. And then we started talking. Then I struck up the courage because he was going to camp meeting, and I said, he drove. So I said, "Can I drive with you?" So he said, "Yeah." I drove with him, and there was another girl who was in the car as well. And I was at the back. You know, when you're at the back, you can't hear anything. Like, you're like a kid. Like, I can't hear the music's on. What are they talking about? Anyhow, I was like, why did I come? I feel so embarrassed that I came. But anyway, we connected in camp meeting. And I don't know if you remember the days of camp meeting, but we had like chalets, and you could open the door, patio door. And I knocked on his door and I opened it, and he just had a towel on, and I said, "Lord Jesus, please help me to be
all
pure.
These righteous women.
I want to seek your kingdom first. I will be pure."
Yeah. I would never have guessed that was in your head.
I said,
yeah.
So I tried to keep a level head, and we were just talking. You know, we had a good time at camp meeting. We went for a walk. Was walking, and then I felt like I was going to fall in the sand, and I thought, "Oh my days, the moon is full, and I feel like if I fall in the sand, he would catch me and we'll have a passionate kiss." I didn't try and fall on purpose. The sand dune was kind of like falling this way.
It's very loose sand,
right? Anyhow, he ended up giving me a piggyback. I don't know why, but I ended up on his back. The most wholesome way. Being carried through the sand, because the sand was hard to walk on. And we carried on normally as friends in camp, went home, and he had lent me his Bible, which was like this big. That was the measure, right? If you had a Bible this big, you would have man today.
You mean that thick?
That thick. And he had a concordance this big. So I was like, he is the man.
Serious.
Right? We haven't got it anymore. I was looking to see if we still had it.
Oh, yes.
And then he had given it to me weeks before, because I was preparing for like a sermon.
Yeah.
And then he said, although he dropped me home last. So I got in the front seat this time. That's what you do, ladies.
Yeah.
Front on the way back. And then when I was on my way home, I should have gone home first, and he dropped me last.
Okay.
Still didn't think about it.
Oh, he knew what he was doing.
He knew what he said. The next day he rang me, he goes, "Can I come and get my books?" And I said, "Okay, I'll be home at, say, 6 o'clock, but I was home from 4, making sure that the hair was laid. I was smelling fresh, everything like that." And he came and he asked for the books, and he stayed for hours. And then he wrote on a piece of paper something about he's coming to rescue me. It was very romantic. As I said, out here is like a desert. We were just being like thespians, really romantic. And then he asked me, he said, you know, "Would you go out with me?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Can you just leave the room a minute?" And he was like, "What? Like, ain't she up for this? Do you know what I mean?"
Will never
He's like,
But
I sent him out the room, and I just said, "Lord, I can't believe you answer my prayers." It was the first time I thought, "God, you're interested in the intricacies of my life. I'm interested in my soul salvation." I didn't think that he was interested in the next boyfriend I'm going to get, but he was. And I came back in. I asked him to come back in, and I said yes. And we had a long, passionate kiss. But I had to keep my ears open because my mum was upstairs sleeping. So I was like, "Oh gosh, this would be so embarrassing." My mum came downstairs. Anyway, time passed, and we dated we met in January 2000. We were friends, and he asked me out in the June 2000. And by November 2000, he asked me to marry him.
Oh, wow.
So within 4 months, he asked me to marry him. And we were married in August. So it was a very, very short courtship. People thought we had the fairy tale, which for some it was, but it wasn't. It was a real life, but we just was intentional on the decision. And my mum was like, no, you can't marry any man. He's going to kill you. You don't know enough. And I was like, I feel like I know enough. I'm 23, 24. I know enough. And then we've been married for 23 years.
Wow.
That's amazing. Yours is so short.
What?
Mine is a bit less complicated. There was 2 events. The first one, I saw her at the church. Although I met you then, I wasn't really thinking about anything romantic in that event. Yeah. But at the church, I met her and I just looked at her body and said, yes, Lord.
Okay.
That was the first one. The second one was actually when we were dating. Dating. She came to my house. I lived with my gran at the time, and she was wearing it wasn't hot, but it was a short, tight skirt dress kind of thing.
Not short, like on my knees. I wasn't a short skirt girl.
A short. My gran at the time was about 80 something, and I was like,
spaghetti straps.
You see, even worse. So as she's walking up to the house, I looked at her and she says to me, "You look good, but you cannot." I mean, in my head, I'm like, "Come in the house like that." My gran is she's gonna speak her mind onto me, So I was like, But she put on her cardigan before I said anything.
Okay.
And I was like,
yes, perceptive
values.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I said, I'm gonna marry that girl.
Just for putting on a cardigan.
Telling you.
They say when a man knows, he knows. I don't know how far true it is, but I think it's from your story, it's clear that
we might get there on a talk. All men know. They know if they can have you on the side or if they want to spend the rest of their life with you. They know within a day.
So what makes it? Okay, maybe I'm preempting. Let's not get into it right now. I was about to say, so what makes them take forever? I mean, are they trying to get themselves right, but they know? Are they trying to?
Where do you want to start? You want to start here? What do you want to do?
Okay. Listening to your story, it sounds like it was simple enough. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that you obviously left out, but it seemed it was simple enough. And I want us to go back to the question that I posed earlier. You are in the ministry of marriage and of speaking to singles, married people, trying to help people who are interested in marriage, trying to shed a bright and a good light on marriage. But we have this pandemic, so to speak, of people feeling like you just can't get it right. Especially, I think people who are Christians, like I said, with the list a bit longer. What do you think is going on with our generation? I'm going to say my generation because I got married at 24. So I've been married for 5 years, but a lot of my age mates are only now feeling like they want to get married. So I'm just going to say, what do you think is going on with my generation? What is making it so difficult? You would think that in the social media or in the internet or the easy communication age, at least that would cut down a lot of the issues. But it seems it's made things worse. What do you think is going on?
I think first, I just wanted to just put a slight correction there. We're not here to just show the good of marriage. Yeah. We're here to show that there are difficult times, but you can work through it. Yeah. So what we always remember is when Jesus himself said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart because I've overcome the world. So it is not a trouble-free marriage that we're promoting at all. It's quite a very real and realistic one. Hence us giving various scenarios about how people with colourful lives, which is the entire planet, can still come together. Yeah. So we just wanted to say that first. I think for your generation, what has changed? I do think that, and I didn't want to go for this one first, but social media has a massive part to play because now you can be whoever you want to online. Nobody can assess your character, smell your armpits. Do you know what I mean? Tell if you respect your gran or not by social media. You can't see people's full values on show. They show you what they want to show you, so you're not actually getting a full picture of who anybody is at the moment, especially if you're in your generation. We didn't have social media when we were growing up, and thank God, because I think if I did, or if we did, maybe we wouldn't be sitting here today, because everything that we did would have been captured on there. Do you know? Thank God for His grace for this generation. But I would say that, and that's to say we were no better than you guys. It's just that you guys have it captured now. So I would say first, social media, you're not getting a full picture of who people are. I would say, and that causes its own problems, because all you've got to do is swipe left, swipe right. So it literally, that action in itself means I don't want you. I choose you, I don't choose you.
Based on superficial things also.
So superficial that you can do it. Well, if you were standing in somebody's face, finding out if this was someone to date or not, you couldn't swipe them to the right of the room and to the left of the room. Another thing is, which I would add, would be the rise of individualism. Everything and everything we're dealing with is about me. It's all about me. It's about my wants. It's about my needs. It's about what I can get. It's about what I need to do and what I can have. And individualism, people don't recognize there is a clock running beside individualism. And that clock is basically saying, whilst you're there feeding yourself and getting yourself fat, not literally, but as your ego is becoming fat, there is also a clock ticking. So you're allowing many people to pass you by, and time is ticking. Next minute you look back, you're 45. And you're fully 35 even. You're fully loaded with yourself. And in order to make room for somebody else, there's only a little bit of space left, enough to run somebody away. Do you know what I mean? And then I think lastly, I would say the expectations are so unrealistic, like really far-fetched, even statistically. Especially when we're speaking, we speak a lot to the Black community, although my church is very multicultural. But when we speak about certain stats where we want our men to be earning a certain figure, 6 figures, you want him, I keep saying you want him 6 inches and you want him 6 foot. And it's like, and a 6-pack. And it's like, how likely...
Triple six.
If you had to put the number of the beast on it, it would be 6 plus another 6. He ain't out there. He doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? It's not real. You may get him at 5'9". 5'9" is a beautiful height. Do you know what I mean? You may get him with a 1-pack. You may get him, do you know what I mean, earning. That's why we put the figures on our scenarios. You may get him in the average wage of, what's the average wage?
36.
36
No,
grand.
it's about 30, 35 grand.
That's the average wage. Yeah. You may get him earning that, but you're going to let him go because he doesn't meet your long list of expectations. And you yourself could never measure up to your own list. That's me.
I have a lot. Curtis, let's hear you in. What do you think is the problem with what's going on with our generation?
Things from what Wanita said anyway. It's short-sightedness. Okay. I had a conversation with a friend. She's probably about 10, 12 years younger than us. And she said, man, if you don't get married by 26 and start having your children, she goes, it's too late. I was so shocked when she said that. And I thought, now I've got views based on math. And she is not necessarily educated in this field and said that herself. And when you do the math on what she said, she's right. People are short-sighted. They're thinking about what's right in front of them, not realizing, like Wanita said, the clock is ticking. Oh, let's connect that to the fact that people are being self-centered, meaning that they want to satisfy themselves as much as possible. Now, when we were young, it wasn't quite like that. And then before us, it wasn't like that. In Western society, around the world, people don't think like us. People think with purpose, legacy, I need to have children, someone to look after me. In fact, if you come from an agricultural society, people have to have children or they would die in the dust. They would die in the field. So we have to get married and we have to have children to live.
Yep.
Because by the time they're 45, 50, their bodies are spent. We need children to, you know, we don't have that here. So we become disabled and self-centered. Another thing is this.
And this is not to say for those who can't have children, that something's wrong. Yeah. You know,
it's the necessity of purpose. Yeah. We also know in this society, statistically, you live longer and better if you're married. But I'm not putting down people who aren't. I'm just saying, if you're not married because of unrealistic expectations and short-sightedness, this is to your detriment. There's another thing as well. I said to my son the other day, we were having a conversation. He's nearly 17, so it's always interesting to have these discussions with your children, right? I said to him, if you were locked in a room with 3 girls that you considered average or below average, and you were locked in a room for a year with them, you would find one of them really attractive eventually, right? This is the simple psychology of choice. You know what I mean? Okay. When you have too much choice, oh man, you go into a shop and you're like, let me buy a handbag or let me buy a packet of sweets or something. And you're there. Yesterday, I went to the shop to buy a treat. I don't often buy sweets. And I stood there and I was like, And I was scanning. They all almost taste the same. They're all sweet. Oh, what am I looking for? I don't even know what I want. I just want something. And I'm looking at about 50 different sweets. Too much choice. And too much choice makes us think we have time to choose. Something tomorrow will come better. You know? That's what choice does. It's poisonous. Yeah? Because we are looking at ourselves. How much pleasure can I get from X, Y, and Z? It's a backward way of looking at how to live your best life. It's about thinking about the moment or thinking about this. Imagine you're in a relationship, always looking at something better. Imagine in your life, you've missed out on 50 opportunities because you're hoping for something better. Now you have nothing. Okay. I think also, this is my last point on this. People are afraid to do the work.
Oh, okay.
People are scared of struggle. Therefore, this is the analogy I use. You imagine a man stands up and he's like, I've got to run this race. There is someone at the beginning of the race who's saying, I will run this race with you. And if you fall, I will carry you. I will help you up. And if you can't run and you twist your ankle, I will wait with you until we get there. This race is not for those who finish. It's not for the swift. It's for those who endure, right? However, there's an increasing amount of women who are waiting at a imaginary finish line, thinking that I qualified because I waited for you at the finish line. I wouldn't trust them if you paid me.
Sure.
You want me to have it. I'm choosing you because you can run well. I choose her, not necessarily you. But yeah, I choose you because you wanted to do this race with me.
Yeah.
So the girls at the end, I say girls, it could be guys, it's more girls, are dressed up. They've got no dust, no scratches. They look perfect. Waiting for me. And then when I cross this line, I still have to be 6 foot tall.
6 inches.
They want it all.
6 figures.
So I fear for people now because nobody trusts each other.
Yeah. I said earlier, and I think similar to you guys, I got married at 24, fresh out of uni. I do remember some people thinking, why would you do that? Don't you want to like work for a while and like establish yourself and buy your first this and make your first that and Granted, it was straight out of uni, but the trajectory of my future was kind of set. I had a job waiting for me. I knew I was, I kind of, unless if I messed up, I kind of knew I had like security in some sense. But to me, it was never, to me, all those arguments didn't make sense, because I was like, why do all these things alone when I can have the benefit of doing them with someone who's equally as invested in growing together, and we double whatever it is that we're doing, we're doubling our efforts, we are, we're working together and growing together in a sense. Because I was like, why would I want to amass all this and then possibly have to join with someone, and like, what's going to happen to all those things? Do we both bring everything to the table and share? How does that even work? So to me, it was more of a, I would like to grow with my person. I would like to say, you remember when we started off and we had nothing, and look at where we are now. But nowadays, I'm actually shocked that someone said when you're 26 it's late, because nowadays I feel like the age keeps moving up. Maybe but you got married young also, but maybe in your time it wasn't really young, but you've had the benefit of growing together from that young, 20 plus years later. Looking back, do you think you would advise someone to do that? Do you think there's merit in those who think, listen, you never know a person, let me just like make sure I have a hedge around me? Or are you like convinced that if you can do it earlier, the better, grow with your person?
Okay. It's funny, at work, there's a lady at work, and she told us how long she'd been married. Mm-hmm. And everybody was all having a team meeting, and we all looked at her and think, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. You'd have to be 14 she got married. Now, I'm not an advocate for 14, but that was the norm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she has lived as long as she has, and has her children and has her grandchildren and all of that, because she started young. Now that she's been alive for a while, her grandkids are able to look after her.
I mean, we wouldn't advocate that age to get married, because it's not legal.
It's not legal, so the point is that, when you it's funny, you do the math again. Yeah. This is my thing. How old do you want to be having to take your children to school?
I've heard the flip side of that, though. We have a lot of people saying now, the older you are and more stable you are, the more able you are to show up for your kids, because all the other things that make parenting hard are sort of like taking care of, like the finances and the growth and maturing is all done. So now I can fully take care. So I've heard arguments for both, but I'm curious. I can see you guys laughing.
Because if you want to say, I'm going to get my career, I'm going to live my life, I'm going to travel, which is, you can travel whether you're married or not. I'm going to get my house, then I'm going to settle down.
I'm going to be a dog mom for a bit.
I have a dog for a while and a cat. A dog there. Good training, I guess. And then what happens is you're 33. Mm-hmm. Now you found someone. You're lucky, right? Yeah. And then you're 33. When are you going to get married? Well, let's say we date for 2 years. It's normal. Yeah. 2 years, 35. When are you going to have children? You're going to be about 37. In 10 years' time, you'll be 47. And you'll be doing the school run. It's not
take the maths further than that.
Oh, how many? What do you want to say? Have another child?
Have another child. I would say I had my first child. We had our first child.
I was 27. So you.
Yeah, 28. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then the next one at 32, and then the third one was at 38. The comparison to the pregnancies, the way I felt was very, very different. Mm-hmm. The way I was treated was also different. By the NHS, I was considered to be, they call you a geriatric mum. At that age, right? Mm. So there was a lot more testing, a lot more frequent visits to the hospital. I'm not a medic, so I'm not gonna speak much on that. I think I would just speak from my personal experience to say it was harder to carry a child then. I think whenever you decide to have children, parenting will be difficult. Yeah. I understand the financial stresses could be eased off if you had started to prepare earlier. Mm-hmm. But difficulties can come at any time. The economy could shift. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The values of things go up and up and up. Yeah. So I don't think you can even it's not to say you don't plan and you don't prepare, because those things are important. And it feels like a good idea to delay having children, because we didn't want honeymoon babies. We were like, we want to take our spend a little time together. So I do understand that. So it's not a critique of that. I think what's important as well is, as your children are aging, so are you.
Yeah.
And you also have to think about this: who is going to look after me when I'm old? I want to live till I'm old, so I want Curtis. But who's going to look after us? Who's going to wipe my bum?
Yeah.
Who's gonna shower me?
Yeah.
You know, am I still gonna have to be looking after them when I'm older? And as I said, it's not a criticism on those who want to delay having children, but I think it needs more consideration with some maths to know that we're not here for long. You know, planet. The average age, people are maybe now going up to 85 plus, but we're not. We've still got a grandma still alive in her 90s. You know,
and she's got family looking after her.
And she has family looking after her. But I think we're lacking the foresight to look ahead. I think what we're doing now, and I'm seeing it a lot in London especially, is we're supplementing babies with dogs. So we're dog parents now, dog mum, dog dad. The doggy is not going to look after you later on. You know?
Yeah.
It's not. And you're being a great... This is not a criticism on animals either, or on dog people lovers. Or dog lovers. Yeah. You're doing a great job with the dog.
Yeah,
but it's not a supplement, and you do want children, and you think, let me delay. You actually don't know if you can have children until you try.
Yeah.
So
and we all assume it's going to be like,
you assume that it's going to be like that. So you need to give yourself some good odds.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so I would say that is, if legacy is important for you, maybe it's not for some.
Yep.
I watched a program yesterday. It was Love is Blind UK. So far, it's not proving great. The American version was a lot more sensationalized. And the man was like, I want children. I want legacy. I want to see a mini me. She said, no, I don't want children. And she had her own historical reasons and trauma that meant that was her decision. She seems like she's going to be coming around soon. It seems like the conversation's going that way. But I say this to say, I was looking at them both, in their various pods talking to each other. They're about 37. Yeah, and I'm like, the odds are against you, not because we said it, but because the older I get, the less eggs I have. Biologically, fact. So my chances reduce the more the time goes on. It is a gamble if you just choose to think, oh, I'll do it when I'm about 40.
Can I just add very, very quickly as well?
Yeah,
This might sound like a beatdown on people, right? But the thing is, it's a matter of urgency, because this is speaking specifically to people who want marriage. We are lucky in the sense of it was the norm to say, come on now, what are you doing? You're getting married, yes or no? And you get married. We're lucky. We're born in the 70s. There's just a natural inbuilt expectation. You're laughing because we sound old now. Yeah. Right. That expectation is there. I would struggle in this age. So it's not a look down on people. It's to say, by the confusion and the despair, there's ways around this. If you want this, don't lose out because you have all this choice, because you think it's time. You need to be thinking differently. Change. Like Wanita will always say, change your standards. They are pricing you out. Go on, sorry.
Let's go into that one. So we have, I don't know if it's an equal number of women saying they are not enough men as it is the same number of men saying they're not enough women. But as society evolving would have it, we now have women doing relatively well for themselves, we have women accessing things that, position in education and that back in the day were not that easy to access. So we have, I think, women doing a lot better professionally than a few years back. And as a result, and as a, yes, I'm doing professionally well, I'm doing well for myself, but also wanting to hold on to the values that, a man is supposed to provide and be the head and all those things. We do have a large number of women, not because they are picky, not those ones who are up in the nose, who are just like, you're not 6 feet, But women who are genuinely like, I do this. This is what I do for my work. I am established in this way. This is how much I bring in. And I expect not that mine is mine and his is ours. I'm willing to like share, so to speak. But I still do expect a certain level of provision from my husband. And then we have, and I've heard some men say, you know, they blame this whole, you know, diversity and inclusion and equity and all that stuff, because now a lot of opportunities that would have been theirs are not theirs anymore. I digress, right? But we also have a large number of men who are just saying, I just can't afford these women these days. Like, they seem to have it all figured out. They're doing well by themselves. I just don't see how I could fit into this person's life. How do we balance that? Because like I'm saying, these are not people who are just picky. These are people with real concerns that, you know, the dating pool, whether it's at church, compared to what women are doing or how well they're doing for themselves. And maybe, I don't know if it's wisdom and also like, I don't know, saving and investment, I don't know. And then looking at the pool or the potentials, you're just like, I don't know how this would work.
I wouldn't start from the position of not telling women to achieve. I think it's, you know, we've come far through several movements of, you know, the reason why we're here in this position now and can achieve and can earn and can educate ourselves and be educated. So I wouldn't take that away at all. I think I would say that I don't know when this happened. I mean, I always try to pinpoint the year. When did this happen that women would go out and expect the man to do everything? Because when we used to go out, we used to always remember, have your cab money. There was no Uber then, guys.
Yeah.
Have your cab money ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In case it don't go well, you got your cab money to go home. Now it doesn't go well and you still expect him to pay for the Uber for you to get home as well. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, have yours as well. So considering that we are earning and we have done so well, why can't we also contribute to a meal? Do you know what I mean? We can contribute to the meal. You're both eating. It's a first date, unless something's been established that he decides to take it, then that's different. But don't have an expectation, especially when you're not married.
Yeah,
it's all on him and he's going to fix it. He is watching. He is observing that. And it's not good for yourself, because when it comes to, if he decides to overlook it and you do commit and you get into a marriage, and hence there will be bills. I mean, whose bills is it going to be? It's got to be both of yours, because you're under the same roof and you're contributing. You're both using the light, you're both using the gas, and so those early practices on a first date of, although I earn and I'm, you know, able to maintain myself, but I still have expectations for him to cover it all.
What if it's not all? What if it's just realistically thinking, okay, the dating part, it's easy, but thinking, let's put it examples, right? I earn 6 figures. The people that I'm seeing earn average 30 something, right? I'm fine. I'll pay the meal. Those are small things, but it's not unrealistic that someone will sit down and be like, what is my life going to look like when I am sort of like pulling for the both of us? Because in the grand scheme of things, valid and valuable as his contribution is going to be, I'm just not going to grow at the same rate as I would if I'm bringing my 6 figures and they're bringing there's people who are having these thoughts that it's not the small things, but it's big picture. How is my trajectory going to look like if I'm going to be with someone who, you know, I value and appreciate them, but they're just not.
You know what? It's all right.
Yeah, I'll go after you again.
Okay. This is the thing, right? We support couples that are preparing to get married. And we also specialize in working with couples who are in crisis.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't like to see... It's always hard to watch a couple go through a crisis because of something like money. Now, what people do when they have money is they destroy themselves if they don't have. And you can destroy yourself wearing a suit and a tie, a nice dress, high heels. You can be alone and lonely easily, okay? You can sleep and have as many friends as you like. if you don't have a significant other that you trust with your life, you're alone.
Yeah.
Right? So when it comes to this standard that, well, I want someone to become a provider, actually, and we can tell you this, when you get married, there's a path that you are on that you have no idea how to come off of it.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't have any control. So you can get married earning 6 figures, but God might say, I want you guys to bond. The only way, just like Doctor Strange in Infinity War, when he was like, I've seen 4 billion ways that this could end. There's only one way that it needs to end, right?
Yeah.
There's only one way that I can see that Curtis and Wanita are going to make it.
Oof.
And imagine if God showed us, I'm going to take your money away. I'm going to allow one of you to be sick. I'm going to allow you to have one more child than you planned for. My point is this. We mustn't allow unnecessary standards to divide us. I had a conversation with a good friend. She's in her 30s.
Yep.
And I said to her, she said to me, Curtis, give me some tips. Give me some tips. And I said, you're doing pretty well for yourself. Get ready to share it.
Yep. Okay.
Money. You see, if you can work with a guy who earns a quarter of what you earn, and he's a good guy, take that guy.
And share.
And you share that money. I don't have money. You don't have money. We have money.
We have money. Yep.
I'm broke. He's broke. No, we're broke.
We are broke. Yep.
Yeah.
Plan for legacy, or like, and I don't hide the fact that Wanita has been the highest earner for the most of our marriage. And that's fine. But the work that we had to reverse roles. That was a struggle. That made us.
Yeah.
So we must be careful about what we're trying to achieve. When people start talking about money, you can't trust them. Because you can tell, they're basically telling you, you know that humans can't lie. They're basically telling you.
Yep.
Oh, I'm shouting. I get passionate. The humans are basically, we can't help it. We're telling the truth all the time.
All the time.
If money's gone, I will respect you less. Let me shut up.
The money situation can change very quickly, as Curtis said.
Yep.
Not necessarily that God inflicts anything on you. I don't want to look at it at that angle. I'm just talking about life.
Yeah.
You break your leg, you know what I mean? You get made redundant. But it's what do you have after the money?
Yep.
So in marriage, 6 figures or not, you're on 6. He's on 3. Be prepared to share.
Yeah.
Be prepared to share, and don't try to do the maths on it where I'll split it this way or this way.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to in order to budget. But I'm saying for you to carry the thing of I'm paying more than he's paying.
Yeah.
It won't work. That's when you're being self-absorbed, self-centered. As Curtis said, there was times when in the marriage I was the highest earner.
Yeah.
It's flipped now, and now he earns double to what I earn. But at that time, he still had to be the husband. He was still the man.
What does that mean?
What I'm saying, he's still the head of our home. He was still a man, even though he had to have the children from they were 2 years old while I was going to work. Yep. You're still the man. You're still my husband. I'm not ahead of you because I now earn more.
This is why I trust Wanita with my life 10 times over. If anything happened to me,
about 20.
How much you want? Are you greedy? I mean, if a life and death situation arose where our lifestyle was going to change to something negative, or if there was a real challenge, I would trust Wanita every single time. Because when it was like that, Wanita still had me as the man.
Yep. Let's flip things around, right? We've spoken about, the woman, and these expectations. how do we help the men who, even when the women are saying, it's fine, I'm prepared to share, etc. We also have some men who, just from the outside looking in, they haven't even made an attempt to speak to these women. I'm speaking from hearing something along those lines at our church, at Sales in particular, where some guys were like, the women seem to be doing fine for themselves. We just don't think we can afford them, or we just don't think we can, we just don't think we match up. How do we help the men gain the confidence to not be intimidated by external things, without even just try and have the conversation? Most of them are like, the women at this church, they speak well, they I just don't think I would fit. How do we help the men?
There's women out there that don't have these standards.
Talk about the men.
Yeah, so these men will find them. I'm not trying to encourage a man to be with anyone thinking like that.
Mm-hmm. You're telling them to come out at CLC.
Come out. if they, what do you want to do? Convince the men to say, go for these women that earn more than you or have certain standards.
But that's the thing, they don't even know these things, right? And this is another, counter that has come from the women. These men have not even spoken to us. I just happen to make sure that when I leave the house, I look put together and I show up to church looking good, right? And from that, someone makes a deduction that this person must earn a lot of money, this person must be like this person must be a snob, I'm not going to go there. So that's what I'm saying, how do we encourage the men, at least as a bare minimum, to have the conversation? Because there really is a mismatch where the women are like, these people are not even approaching us at all. They don't know nothing about us. And then the men are like, nah, just from looking at those ones, they just seem like they have everything figured out. So we're not going there.
Yeah, I think
that?
The men are saying that for a reason, and this is not a woman bash at all, because I am very proud to be one.
Yeah.
The men are not plucking this out of thin air. It's a perception that they're picking up. So
yeah,
it's a responsibility of them both. Ladies, what are you giving off? Men, what are you picking up? Or even men, do you have to address something within yourself where you don't feel secure enough? Or you don't feel you measure up enough, or you're strong enough. And we also have to think about that there's a lot of structural inequalities, especially in the West and in the UK, where the black man is absolutely battered, in different institutions, from the hospital when he was born, to the school that he went to the grades that he received at uni. To the stop and searches that he receives on the street. There is an onslaught. It's not an excuse. This comes and it does, and it can impact the way this man moves through society and church. So what we noticed in church growing up is that, I don't know, growing up in the UK, you would see brother so-and-so who was a top-notch deacon or elder. On Sabbaths, he was fully suited and booted, shirt, tie, authority. Waistcoat, blazer, authority telling you to get yourself inside. And if you saw him in the week and you found out what his job was, he was working, in a biscuit factory, for example, and had an allotment and didn't really speak much, just used to just read a newspaper all evening. Inside, we heard a sermon years ago by T.D. Jakes talking about the silent scream inside. He was screaming. Because he had no outlet for this. And then he comes to church and all of a sudden he's the big man, he's on stage, his voice changes, he's somebody else. I think we have the reverse of it now. Yeah. Where maybe you're the big man at work, and when you come to church, it's your place, because church is a lot more inclusive. It's allowing people a lot more than when we grew up to breathe out. So this is a place where the men come to kind of maybe let their hair down and be with other men who are like them. So as that's perceived by the woman, nowadays, we would have perceived that man and say, he's got it all together. Look at his suit, look at his tie, look at him. He's all put together and he's got the big voice. Now, when they come to church, it's their moment. And what we could view that as is, he ain't saying nothing. He ain't got nothing to offer. Look at his clothes, look at his shoes. Look how much he's earning. He can't look after me. So it's perception. It's what we're seeing. And maybe it means that, not that the church is responsible for that, but they, in some ways, that's why we do what we do, because we feel like we have responsibility. It's to set up conversations. It's to set up forums so people know, we spoke about this last week, that he is in the room. She is in the room. What better place to find your spouse than somebody who's been your friend for years that you've grown up with?
I saw that one.
Yeah. What better place to find your spouse than from being from the same community with the same values? You don't have to wrestle. Do the kids pray? Do they how do they eat? Where do they go? What's our values? You know what I mean? What better place than to find that in church? But we've got to realize that there are, as I said, structural stuff going on outside, and there's also perception. What are we actually seeing? And if we're seeing, I'm not coming for you ladies, but I'm coming for you ladies. If we're seeing a bunch of ladies who are dressed up to the nine, face like stone, do you know what I mean? Not wanting to give him the time of day. He's decided to come in his most comfortable shoes and a comfortable attire, and he does not look like the guys that they're seeing on Instagram or in the club, dare I say, then we're going to miss out. We speak to we got a 21-year-old daughter, and we speak to her about perception all the time. And we say to her, what's your face? Your face doing? Is your face slamming the door? Is it putting up a gate to say, don't talk to me, I'm not approachable? Like, what are you doing with this? This is the first thing I'm going to see. Are you shutting down opportunities for yourself just by the way you are being perceived or the way you present yourself? We have a responsibility. I'm not saying sit there and go like this or be a fool, but I'm saying don't make it extra hard. Like we used to call it in our stush. Don't be stush. Yeah. Don't be socious. Relax yourself. He's in the room.
Equal yoking. I don't know how passionate you are about this, or whether it's I think I've observed it move from, at least where I grew up and when I was growing up. Do not be unequally yoked. In not so many words meant, do not marry a non-Adventist, right? It's plain and simple. That's just what it was, what it meant. But I'm seeing it these days shifting to, as long as a person is a Christian and they believe in God, it's fine. I'm curious, what are your views on that whole, on religion in the relationship? Let's just put it that way, religion in the relationship. Notice I didn't specifically say spirituality, because, a lot of people are spiritual and they pray and believe in a higher power. But religion and marriage.
I think the yoke, that thing that you have. When I was brought to that text, I thought it was 2 egg yolks, right? And you know,
everybody did.
Yoke, what's yoke? But it's that thing that the 2 oxen have around their necks, so that they can walk at the same pace and not be, and it will equalize the burden of that journey or that task. So don't be unequal in it. Don't be self-centered. Don't expect me to do a lot more. How will we do that? We have to have conversations and be willing to work with each other where we are at. So if I earn 100K, I earn 100K and I earn 25, we can still be equally yoked. If this is our money, now we're equally yoked.
Yeah.
It's interesting you said that, because I think we've taken that scripture and we've made it into what we want it to be. So that means if you're Adventist, don't marry outside. If you're Christian, don't marry somebody else. Do you know what I mean? Who's not a Christian. And even without that scripture, and thank God for it, you could, if you're looking at a religion, like say like a Christian and Muslim shouldn't be married together, for example, you could understand why, because there would be differences in your major values. But I like what Curtis has said in terms of we know what the yoke is and how that it needs to be leveled with the both oxen ploughing that field. Yeah. You could be unequally yoked in marriage.
Yep.
As
being Adventist.
Being Adventist. Yeah. You can be unequally yoked right in the marriage. And we have seen where you walk into church and you don't even know 2 people are together. Yeah. Or somebody's preaching and you see, you know, the wife or the husband sitting there thinking, really? You know, we was just having a big argument in the car, you know what I mean? Or, you know, I don't agree with, the way you manage money. That's being unequally, as Curtis said earlier. So I think we've made it safe by saying, oh, if you're Adventist, don't marry outside that. But you can be unequally yoked even as Adventist. Come on, like, what are we thinking? We're dealing with humans. You can always also be unequally yoked at different times in your marriage as well. And it's about recognizing that, saying, oh, we're off balance. Let's get back together in being yoked.
There's a thing. I mean, this is it. We create constructs to make it easy. The people who taught us these things are not good examples of marriage, relationships. They're good examples of showing up, looking the part. Our grandparents did a very bad job at showing how to do relationships. There's some good things we can pick out of what they did. You know, submission, obedience. These things are necessary in the right context. But outside of that, relationships, what do you mean? So it's simple. Even though I've worked a full day, I can still come home and help. Truth is, in a marriage, this is the thing, right? This is where it gets a bit complicated. The yoke is never equal. So somebody has to pick up the slack. That's how marriage works. So when we're not being unequally yoked, when my wife is slacking off, my job is to pick up the slack until she can. She never has. It's always me. My job is to hold it up until, and that may be till the day she dies. I can jump out of the boat at any time I like, or I can stick it here.
Okay. You've been married for how many? 20? Remind me, 20 what? 20?
23 years in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the biggest lesson that marriage has taught you about yourself?
That I thought I was a nice guy.
Okay.
Are you? Bad.
Well, this is it, right? I have great friends. I have a lot of friends. I'm well known. And generally, I'm well liked, but no one's married to me. I did not know that I could shout and lose my temper. It's hardly the case now, just letting everyone know. We're in a different space now. But marriage has humbled me to say, yeah, but when you're with Wanita, who are you?
Okay.
And that's the real me.
Yeah.
So it's taught me to recognize that I ain't all that. And I never thought I was all that. It's just that nice guy what? Let's see. Let's see what Wanita says about you. Now, she won't expose me to all of you. She won't do that.
But even if I could, I wouldn't ask for anybody else. I would do it again and again and again. And if there was marriage and given in marriage in heaven, I'll say, can I have him again, please?
Yeah.
Even if God says I have 10 wives. Like...
No. I'll kill them all.
That's the exception. What is it?
Same question to me. That you work out your stuff in marriage, like your trauma, your childhood stuff. This should be the best place you work it out.
You did life course or something. This is the best life.
Yeah, this is the best personal development course you're ever going to go on. You're forced to look at yourself. You're forced to look in the mirror. You're forced to understand, why does that trigger me? Or why am I going there? Why am I reacting like that? Why don't I like that? Does that remind me of something else?
Or something else?
Yeah. Does that remind me of something negative? So this is the place where you work it. You should be safe to work it out. Today I had a difficult day towards the end of work, and I was able to call my best mate and say, with tears, this is what happened. And yet again, I feel like it's doing something to my character, but it makes me cry still. and he's able to hold me in that space. First thing he'll say, "Why are you crying? Are you crying? Are you crying? Are you crying?" I'm like, but I need
couldn't
to.
tell.
I need to. Because he doesn't like when I'm crying because it wants to come to my defense, right? Yeah. And I have to say, look, I'm all right crying, but I have to cry. Because if I don't, I'm holding it in and it's not good. Yeah. But
I'm trying to solve a problem.
And
she doesn't want a problem solved.
I don't want a problem solved. I just want to cry.
I wish my husband was here. Okay, but go on.
Yeah, I just don't solve it. Don't tell me.
Sometimes I just want you to listen. I just want to cry. I don't need solutions.
That's it. And he did well today. He did listen. He did. I was surprised. I was waiting for it. He's going to come with the answer. He's going to come with the answer.
And when I wasn't coming with the answer, I thought, you're going to say to me, you didn't even offer me the solution. So I wasn't sure what to do. But
but allow me to do that.
Yeah.
So... allow me to do that.
Oh my gosh. So,
it is, you will notice we're using the same cloth, right?
This is marriage.
It's a place to work out your crap, your rubbish, your stuff, your trauma. And I never thought I would find a safe place to do that, but marriage has been that safe place. Not to say that Curtis has to deal with, he's dumped with all my nonsense, but that I have somebody who's an accountability partner. I have somebody who is helping me heal. And then, therefore, he's getting the best version of me now today, I would say, more than when we first started, when I had to conceal it. Yeah. Now I'm just like, hey, I could fly. Yeah.
I said earlier that, at least to me, you make it look easy. I'm curious, what has been the hardest thing about marriage for you? It could be something that was maybe hard in the start, but you found your way around it. But when you think marriage is not rosy, this was hard.
I will say this, because we have to reflect on, and we are happy to share some things about our struggles. That's one of the reasons why I don't take happy, joy, and put it on social media, because it's a lie. Everyone on social media is not all the time, but everyone on social media is lying. Anyway, I think for me, the most interesting and hardest thing is recognizing that my feelings are temporary. I've felt things that felt absolute, but it's impossible for it to be absolute. Your feelings, I mean, it's not going to happen with me anyway. Most people just get over things, even traumatic experiences. We can, the pain or the frustration you feel at the time isn't the same consistently forever. Yeah. I felt things that I'm like, I'm done. It's a moment. And when that heat goes down, you recognize, where am I going? So getting past my feelings. Yeah. And I'll say this is the best space we've been in for many years. We've been growing a lot over the last, 6-7 years. It's been a very interesting time for me. So it's a lot of the problems that we had are just one or two things that looked like they were impossible. Yeah. They felt like they were impossible. But when the heat comes off, you recognize it's great. Great.
Yep.
Right. We have had very difficult moments. Yeah. Sometimes external to us. So losing parents, finance, a lot of other issues that would have broken many. Yeah. If we had the space and time, we would tell our full story, and people would be like, "You lot are still together." And it was never an option to say, "Right, we're gone," because of this issue. I will say Curtis had a statement which was, "There is no fire exit, So we're going to bump in. You get me? And that is saying there's no way out.
Yep.
So we either burn together or we deal with it.
Yep.
And I didn't know how to deal with some stuff before, because I could actually say, we're brushing it under the carpet. And we've always had different rugs in this room. And he's always like, it's under the rug. I'm going to lift up the rug and deal with it. I never wanted to. I thought, just leave it. Just leave it. And the best thing is to lift up that rug and sweep out what's under there. It's not even half as bad under there what you think it is. But it will be if you leave it. You're going to then trip over on the rug because there's going to be a big lump. But if you regularly lift up that rug and sweep under it, then you're going to be walking flat and cruising.
You know what? I've been afraid. I've been very afraid the last, say, 10, 12 years. The reality of being in a marriage and faking. It's scary. And then say, I don't like your company. I'm only talking like that. Why? Because I know we haven't done the work. And if you drive your car with the engine management light on long enough, you're going to have to run that car off. So marriages can, there's every chance that more bad things can happen to us. But because we're becoming accustomed to doing the work, which is not something that we would have done in the early days. Now it always seems possible. In the early days, it was like, I don't know how we're going to do this. All because now we're like, okay, let's talk about it. I'd rather have the biggest argument 3 days straight.
Yeah. Wow. This has been something. And I think we could go on and on and on. But thank you so much for your time. Before we close off, I don't think I did a good job at explaining what you do as This Is Marriage. So I'd like you guys to just give us a quick rundown on what you're about and what the goal is and where people can find you and then finally at the end of it, I know you've said that he's in the room or she's in the room. We saw that one, but I really do want us to end off strong in the backdrop of everything that we've spoken about today and what the goal was. To say, what would you say, Wanita, to a young lady who, not young, but those ones where you're running out of time? What would you say to them about this whole facade that there's just no one out there to build a life with? And Curtis, I'd like you to say the same for the gents out there.
So I wouldn't put a blanket on it and say that marriage is for everybody, because it's not. Some people don't want to be married. It's not the gold standard. I'm not making it the gold standard for anybody. Although God does say, so for him it is. It's not good for man to be alone. So I understand it is God's ideal. It's his gold standard. But we do not see you as less because you are not. You are still very much whole because you are a child of God. You are saved by grace through your faith. And Jesus Christ himself came down to die for you. And if it was just you, he would have died for your sins. So you are valid, you are important, you are loved, you are cherished, you have a community. But you do desire, and if you don't desire marriage, go forward in that and continue to dig to find the treasures that is attached to singleness, because there is much treasure attached to singleness. But if you do desire marriage and it's something you desire, then your desires have to be followed by some decisions. And there's some decisions that you're going to have to make. And those decisions can be life-altering. They can be different to your expectations. So we would say, start with your list and then turn that list to yourself and ask yourself if you are being that list of what you want. Then look at the Gospels. Look at what other-centered living is about. Living for others. Look at the early Acts church. How did they live? They lived outside of themselves. They lived to give. They lived to serve.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but Curtis said it before, the measure of a woman. And I know we're in a different generation now, so this can be tender for some women if I do say it. But I can still see the principle in it. If there's something to do and she sits there and it's not being done, it's not the best look. So if somebody drops a plate and she continues to talk to the person next to her, you know, if you see somebody struggling with 5 chairs and you don't think, let me go and help that person by alleviating their burden by taking 1 chair off them to put away at the chair. Something silly like that. It seems silly, but it actually isn't. It is, are you self-centered and going to stand there with your plate and just eat and continue to let someone else struggle, or are you going to be outside of yourself and assist somebody? So other-centered living does look like that. It doesn't mean you have to sell your house, your car, and live in a kibbutz. It means in a community even. It means I am going to put others before myself. So take the time to do that. I would also say be aware of time. Time is moving. The pandemic robbed 2 years of us, and we're 2 years older than we should be right now. And we have seen how time is actually racing. And what are you going to do with your time? What are your goals? What are your plans? Do you have a vision for yourself? And how does it involve somebody else? If it does, and you can see him in the room, start having frank conversations.
Yep.
Don't be all up in his face like, you know, I want to be married by next year, you know, bruv. It's not like that. But start making yourself available. Go on that threshing floor. Lie down. Put some perfume on yourself. And watch your Boaz. Please God, he's not Boaz, because Boaz was much older than Ruth, you know. He was an old man to Ruth. So be it if it is like that. But what I'm saying is make yourself
available.
I'm not talking about getting red bottom shoes, getting or enhancing your cheeks. No, I'm talking about make yourself available. What's in here will definitely show out here. Make yourself available. Have conversations with the men in your community. Dating is to collect data. So date. Don't give yourself away on the date. We're not talking about, right, I'm with him on the date and he's going to get all my goods. You know what I mean? Why buy the cow, we all say, when you can get the milk free?
Get milk for free.
Yeah, I'm not calling you ladies cows, but don't give away your milk for free, right? What we're saying is this: date, collect data. Don't collect data in the bed. Collect data at the dining room table, in the restaurant. Yep. And then I would say, lastly, for her, know that God is interested in your soul salvation, most definitely, because he's made provision for that.
Yep.
But he's also interested in the matters of your heart.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The Bible says, guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life.
Yep.
The issues of life, go and deal with them. You might have to sit your mum down and say, why did this, and this? And you might have to understand that your dad left and understand why did he leave. And if you have an opportunity to speak to him, why did you leave me? Now I have issues of abandonment. You might have to get a new career if the one you're currently in is doing your head in. And you might have to seek wise counsel or even therapeutic intervention to start working through your stuff. And then you leave the rest up to, I can't say time and chance because it feels like all of that is in vain. Then the rest will be the rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the men, I would say for men, you have to be very careful about the fact that you can always find a woman to play with. You have so much choice and you have a bit more time than women. Your body clock is different. But one thing you must remember is that the clock is the same when it comes to learning how to build a long-lasting relationship. So, you know, women, they've got a body clock, biology. They've got until a certain time. Men can do this to their 45, 50, still be very desirable. But what it doesn't speak to is their ability to have a meaningful relationship. Sure. So start now and go and bless someone by being a king. And don't waste your time having fun. I said something at the church that it rocked some of the men. You know, you sleep around, you're going to have a hard time being sexual with someone who loves you.
Okay.
Men you're going to struggle to get it up because you just poisoned your whole being. You know, your brain you can't undo the past. You've got certain things in your mind and it plays out. So I'm saying to men, like, go and live life well with one person. Don't waste it on fun. Don't waste it on multiple choices. Just make a decision and go ahead. That's it.
I have nothing else to say after that. So I'm just going to hand over back to you. This is Marriage. Who are you? What do you do? Where can we find you?
Believe it or not, This Is Marriage started about 10 years ago. We were celebrating 8 years ago. We were celebrating our 15th wedding anniversary, and Curtis said we should go live because people always ask us questions about marriage, even at our 15th year, and that's how This Is Marriage was birthed. It's changed. We used to do videos side by side where we would talk about different topics, and it turned to an interview style. And then when the pandemic hit, we recognized that a lot of marriages would be in crisis because people would be like, right, we're stuck here. We don't have work as an outlet. And so we found a need and a niche to have conversations in that time. We had conversations about 2 to 3 times a week in the pandemic with guests. And they enriched our own marriage. That's why we continued. It allowed us to stay strong, to manage through the pandemic as well. From that, we also, what did we do? We extended our conversations to just short reels, asking curious questions, and not giving an answer, but allowing people to reflect. And then now we also have moved this into services. So we have a coaching service. So we offer couples coaching, individual coaching, where couples and individuals can come to us for a fee, and we speak to them, and we have a syllabus that we work through. We also do that for singles, for those contemplating marriage, for those who are dating, and for those who are married or their marriage is in crisis. We also offer something called relationship rooms, which should be launching soon, where people can pay a subscription and jump into our rooms in terms of our digital rooms with other couples, be anonymized, and they can ask very curious questions and get help and guidance and specialist support as well. We have singles rooms as well, which will be launching. And we have ebooks, which will be coming out as well, e-chapters that will be coming out on the subjects that we currently speak of. Is that it?
That is it. So if you want to access anything...
Oh, I'm public speaking.
Yeah. So yes, right. So if you want to access anything, basically we do everything, don't we?
Yeah, you do.
If you want to access anything, go on our Instagram page and click on the link in the bio and access it all. Click on the service that you want and we'll see you there.
Yeah, and it's This Is Marriage UK.
Okay. Thank you so much for availing yourselves. The work that you're doing is amazing. It's beautiful, and I love, Wanita, right from the start, you said we're not here to like present a certain image of marriage is like perfect, and you're here to keep it real. And I really appreciate that, and the work that you're doing. Never tire. Sometimes the work that people do doesn't have like physical reward or thanks, but I'm pretty sure that in your own way, in your own time, you are touching lives and you are making a difference. So thank you for that, and please do keep going. And bigger than that, thank you for availing yourselves today on a Monday evening. It's late, but you're still here and you're still pleasant throughout. And it did take a while for us to manage to align our schedules. But thank you so much for availing yourselves. I really, really appreciate it. And I wish you nothing but the best.
It's been a pleasure. You are, I enjoyed you. We enjoyed you more than we even know. So
great host.
Yeah, you're great and you know what you're doing, and we look forward to it.
Thank you so much. That's encouraging. Okay, thank you for watching. As usual, if you have any questions or comments for Wanita and Curtis, you can reach them, of course, on Instagram on This Is Marriage, but also This Is Marriage UK. But also feel free to pop anything into the comment section below, and I'll try to get them to respond. But if not, I will forward them, and they'll find a way to reach you. Thank you for your time. As always, please like, please share, please subscribe. I'll see you guys again next time. Goodbye.